I remember the day it all began like it was etched into my mind with a dull knife. It was mid-October in my sophomore year at Jefferson High, one of those crisp autumn afternoons where the leaves outside crunched underfoot and the sky hung low with gray clouds threatening rain. The school itself was a relic, built back in the early ninteens, with towering brick walls that seemed to absorb the sunlight, leaving the hallways dim even on bright days. The air inside always carried that peculiar mix of teenage sweat, cafeteria grease, and the faint, underlying rot of old wood. I was just an average kid back then, lanky, with a mop of unruly hair, more interested in sneaking smokes behind the bleachers than studying for tests. My friends and I would joke about the haunted parts of the building, but it was all in good fun until that one lunch period when I wandered off alone. The cafeteria was a zoo as usual, with trays clattering and voices overlapping in a chaotic symphony, so I slipped out to the east corridor for some quiet. That's when I really noticed the barrier for the first time, a heavy chain link. Fence bolted to the walls, padlocked tight, blocking off the abandoned wing. Rumors swirled about it, a fire in the 1970s that claimed lives during an after-hours event. Kids and a teacher trapped in the blaze. Officially, it was sealed for safety reasons, asbestos or structural issues, but the older custodians would mutter about unsettled spirits when they thought no one was listening. I leaned against the cold metal, peering into the shadows beyond, where dust motes danced in the faint light seeping through cracked windows. Nothing moved, but a chill ran down my spine, like invisible eyes watching back. Weeks dragged on, and that barrier became an obsession. I'd find excuses to pass by it between classes, the echo of my sneakers on the linoleum mixing with the distant ring of bells and slamming lockers. My grades slipped. I was the flawed type, procrastinating on homework to doodle maps of the school in my notebook, marking the sealed entrance like buried treasure. One rainy evening after soccer practice, as thunder rumbled outside and the halls emptied out, I pressed my face to the chain links again. The storm made the building groan, wind whistling through vents like distant moans. That's when I heard it, a soft, rhythmic scratching, like chalk on a board but muffled, coming from deep within the wing. My breath fogged the metal. I strained to listen, heart thumping steadily. It stopped abruptly, leaving only the patter of rain. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had paused to listen back. That night, at home in my cluttered room with posters peeling from the walls, I lay awake, the sound replaying in my head, morphing into nails dragging across wood. Sleep came fitfully, dreams of smoke-filled rooms and shadowy figures reaching out. Curiosity turned to compulsion. I confided in my best friend, Alex. During lunch the next day, the cafeteria smelled of overcooked pizza, trays scraping as kids jostled for seats. He laughed it off, calling me paranoid, but his eyes darted nervously. "Dude, just leave it," he said, but I couldn't. That weekend, I borrowed bolt cutters from my dad's shed, the weight of them heavy in my backpack like a secret sin. Monday after school, with the building quiet, except for the hum of vending machines and the occasional door creak, I waited until the halls cleared. Slipping through a side door, I approached the barrier, cutters in hand. The snip of the chain echoed like a gunshot in the silence. I winced, glancing around, but no one came. Pushing through, the air shifted, immediately stale, colder, with a tang of charred wood that made my nose wrinkle. Dust-coated, everything overturned chairs, shattered glass crunching underfoot, and walls scarred with soot. My phone's flashlight beam trembled as I ventured deeper, illuminating faded posters curling at the edges, advertising long-forgotten school dances. The first classroom I entered was a time capsule desk's askew, a globe tilted on its axis, and a chalkboard with half-erased lessons from another era. But in the lower corner, fresh marks deep gouges, as if made by frantic hands. My fingers traced them, rough and uneven, and a whisper brushed my ear indistinct, like wind through leaves, but carrying a word: help. I spun, beam sweeping the room, but it was empty. Adrenaline buzzing, I moved on, corridors narrowing, the ceiling sagging in places with water stains blooming like dark flowers. Footsteps echoed not mine's soft patters, like children running, always just around the corner. My flawed bravery faltered, sweat trickled down my back, despite the chill. In the heart of the wing, where the fire had raged hottest, walls were blackened. Metal lockers warped into grotesque shapes. There, in a corner, a small form crouched, rocking gently. Approaching slowly, my light revealed a child-sized silhouette, skin pale as paper, hair matted. It turned, face hollow, eyes bottomless pits that sucked in the light. "You shouldn't have come," it whispered, voice echoing with others layered beneath. Terror gripped me. I fled, cutters clattering to the floor, scrambling back through the gate, heart slamming against my ribs. The aftermath lingered like a bad dream. I chained the barrier as best I could, but nightmares plagued me, waking to scratching in my closet, shadows shifting in mirrors. At school, I'd catch whispers in crowded halls, names of the fire victims mingling with my own. Friends noticed my jumpiness. I brushed it off as stress. But during a power outage one stormy class, lights dying with a pop, the barrier rattled violently. Alone in the library afterward, bookshelves looming like sentinels, I heard the patters again, closing in. Research online revealed more, survivor accounts of post-fire hauntings, doors locking themselves, screams at midnight. One night, unable to bear it, I returned with a flashlight and salt-stupid superstition, but the wing was alive, doors creaking open, cold hands brushing my neck, figures materializing in smoke wisps. The child thing appeared again, reaching out. "Join us!" I escaped barely, but the scratches on my arms were real, fading slowly. Years later, I avoid old buildings, but in quiet moments, the whispers return. A lingering question: did I free them, or trap myself in their eternal weight? It started so subtly, like a crack in a foundation. You don't notice until the whole house shifts. My junior year at Ridgeview Academy was supposed to be uneventful, get through classes, hang with friends, maybe ask out that girl in bio. The school was modern-ish, built in the 90s, with wide halls lined with blue lockers that clanged shut like metallic heartbeats, and classrooms buzzing with the low hum of projectors. I was the laid-back type, flawed with a tendency to zone out during lectures, sketching aliens in the margins of my notes instead of focusing. That fateful Monday, our English teacher, Mrs. Hargrove, was out with the flu, and in strolled the substitute, Mr. Ellis. He was imposing, over 6 feet with a frame that seemed stretched, skin unnaturally smooth and pale, like wax under the harsh fluorescence. His suit hung perfectly, but his movements were off, jerky, like a puppet learning to walk. "Good morning," he intoned, voice flat and echoing slightly, as if from a tunnel. We exchanged glances, stifling giggles. Substitutes were always weird, right? The first class passed oddly. He lectured on poetry, but his eyes scanned us constantly, unblinking, pupils dilating in a way that made my skin crawl. The room felt colder near him, goosebumps rising despite the warm vents. After the bell, as we filed out, his gaze lingered on me, a faint smile curling lips that didn't quite reach his eyes. Lunch that day was a buzz friends mimicking his monotone, joking about him being a robot. But Jenny, the bubbly girl from the back row, seemed quieter, rubbing her arms as if chilled. "He gives me the creeps," she whispered over her tray of soggy fries. That afternoon, in the library with its shelves of musty books and the soft whir of computers, I overheard teachers gossiping. No record of a Mr. Ellis in the sub-pool. But the office swore he'd been vetted. Night fell early that time of year, and walking home under streetlights flickering like dying stars, I felt watched, shadows lengthening unnaturally. Tuesday amplified the unease. Roll call dragged, he paused on Jenny's name, head cocking like a bird hearing a worm. She was absent, and when asked, he murmured, "Family matters," without elaboration. The air in class carried a new scent, metallic, like blood or rust, faint but persistent. His lessons delved into darker themes, quoting lines about souls and voids that left us shifting uncomfortably. Mike, the class clown, cracked a joke under his breath. Mr. Ellis's head snapped toward him, eyes narrowing to slits. After class, I lingered, pretending to pack slowly, and glimpsed him tracing fingers over Jenny's empty desk, almost caressingly. Paranoia set in that evening. At home with the TV droning in the background, I dreamed of him peeling off his skin like a mask, revealing something writhing beneath. Waking in a sweat, sheets tangled, I checked my phone texts from friends about weird vibes, but no word from Jenny. By Wednesday, absences mounted. Sarah and Tom didn't show, their desks starkly empty. Whispers rippled through the halls, lockers slamming with nervous energy. Mr. Ellis's appearance shifted subtly, skin sallower, veins more prominent, pulsing faintly. During a discussion, his tongue darted out, longer than normal, tasting the air. I felt his stare boring into me, heavy as lead. Lunch was tense. Alex confided he'd seen Mr. Ellis in the parking lot at dawn, standing motionless. After school, I snooped in the office while the secretary stepped out. Files showed no sub-request, just a note, Ellis approved. Heart racing, I rifled his desk later inside. Polaroids of students, eyes scratched out, dates scrawled in red. A chill gripped me, slamming it shut. I fled as footsteps approached. That night, storms raged, lightning illuminating my room in flashes. I heard tapping at the window, but nothing was there. Thursday shattered illusions. Class was half empty, fear palpable in the stifled coughs and averted eyes. Mr. Ellis's voice hissed now, lessons twisting into riddles about consumption and eternity. When he called on me, his breath wafted cold and foul. "You understand, don't you?" he whispered, form looming. I mumbled an excuse and bolted to the bathroom, splashing water on my face, mirror reflecting my pale terror. Screams echoed from afar, cut short. Hiding in a stall, breath shallow, I texted parents, but signals failed. As dusk fell, the school emptied, but I crept back to his room, traces of struggle, overturned chairs, a bloody smear on the floor. He materialized then, blocking escape, limbs elongating grotesquely, face splitting into a grin of jagged teeth. "They feed me?" he rasped. Shadows birthing twisted echoes of vanished students. Panic fueled my escape, hurling a lamp, shattering glass, dashing into rain-slicked night. Police later called it mass hysteria, kids running away, but I know the truth, he's eternal, hungering, waiting for fresh prey in empty classrooms. Schools have those underbellies, forgotten realms where echoes linger and secrets fester. Lincoln High's basement was mine to tend as the new janitor. A job I took after life kicked me down, divorce leaving me broke. Sobriety a daily battle. The kind of flawed man who drowned regrets in late-night coffee. The building was a sprawling concrete beast from the 60s. Upper floors alive with teenage chaos, but below, the basement hummed with the boiler's low growl, pipes clanking like restless bones. My shift started at dusk, fluorescent bulbs casting a sickly yellow glow on cinder block walls, the air thick with damp and the faint ozone of electrical wiring. Mr. Ramirez, the veteran custodian with calloused hands and a perpetual squint, oriented me on day one. Stay out of the old locker section, sealed since '82. Bad juju. His voice dropped, eyes avoiding mine, but he wouldn't say more. I nodded, keys jingling like a warning. Descending stairs that creaked under my weight. Mop bucket wheels squeaking in protest. First nights were routine, sweeping dust bunnies that gathered like conspirators, mopping floors that gleamed wetly under lights, the solitude broken only by radio static from my walkie. But on night 4, pushing my cart past the chained-off locker, row metal doors rusted, numbers faded, I paused. A scream pierced the quiet, muffled but raw, emanating from locker 47. My blood ran cold, mop clattering. I approached, ear to the door. Scratching followed, frantic, like trapped desperation. "Hello," I called, voice echoing hollowly. Silence, then a sob, childlike, heartbreaking. Rational thoughts flooded prank, animal, echo from above. But the locks were intact, dust undisturbed. Shaken, I retreated upstairs, finishing in the gym with its echoing vastness. But sleep evaded me at home, apartment walls closing in, dreams of confined darkness. Obsession brewed over days. Breaks found me in the public library, poring over microfiche articles from 1982 detailed Harlan Graves, former janitor, suspected in disappearances of 3 students lured below, never seen again. No bodies, just blood traces, lockers condemned. My flaws resurfaced, curiosity masking self-destruction. I smuggled tools in, bolt cutters hidden in my bag. Midnight on Friday, basement air heavier. I snapped the chain, metal clinking ominously. Opening locker 47, a rush of faded air hid inside. Child's drawings yellowed, a toy car, and inner walls clawed deeply. Whispers started, "Free us." Heart hammering, I pressed on, each locker yielding relics, notebooks with please scrawled, fabric scraps stained dark. Screams swelled, overlapping, a cacophony of terror. Deeper in, lights dimmed erratically, shadows writhing. A hand emerged from an ajar door, bony, decayed, clutching my sleeve. Pulling back revealed Harlan's visage, rotting flesh, eyes glowing malevolently. "Mine forever," he growled, spectral kids manifesting behind, translucent and tormented. Cold enveloped me. I fought free, bolting upstairs amid pursuing wails, doors slamming. Quitting at dawn, I fled, but echoes persist, screams in traffic, scratches in silence. Did I unleash them or join their eternal vigil?